Hello, guys. Good evening. I hope I am audible and visible. Okay, so today we're going to talk about um, Kargil game changer, right? Precision strike by the Indian Air Force in support of army operations. As you all are aware, that um, when the Kargil War was fought, the nation was taken by surprise. Even the armed forces were taken by surprise, and we really didn't know as to how this has happened. However, once we got to know about the exact, position on ground, there were a lot of uh, activity, right? And the army had started mounting, um, I would say, strikes and counter. Um, and it was realized that no, it's going to be a uphill task. So today we are going to discuss the entire Operation Safed Sagar in light of support to the army. So, welcoming you to this special YouTube session. I'm Group Captain Rajesh Pandey, an Air Force veteran, first assessor on board Unacademy, an alumnus of National Defence Academy with over 31 years of service in the Air Force. I've conducted over 4,000 selection interviews at various selection boards, also been a former head training division at Defense Institute of Psychological Research. I've been privileged to train a large number of senior officers as interviewing officers from the services, involved in research on new techniques of personal selection, and I'm your SSB mentor. So this is as regards my introduction is concerned. And over last almost 3 years plus, I've been helping candidates to um, appear confidently for their SSB, and there have been very encouraging results from the candidates. And we have an iconic mentorship program on Unacademy, and through that also we have had a lot of successes. Four of my students have um, made it in the SSB, right? And you can watch the story, the success story, as for this. The link is concerned, right? You can see this, and there's so many other people who have already made it. In fact, about three or four of them are already officers. They have already been commissioned in the armed forces as captain, sub-lieutenant, flying officer, etc. So it would be a very good idea if you uh, take on the iconic mentorship program, which is a 1 month personal guidance for SSB. You can use my discount code Captain at the rate Rajesh, and you will get a personalized attention. Right. So the biggest problem as far as the SSB guidance is concerned, that you need to have people who should be able to give you attention, right? Um, so this is guaranteed as far as iconic mentorship program is concerned. So we have had Harsh Ranjan, who's got recommended in TES 47, AIR rank 37, and he says, "Thanks, sir. Because of you, I got motivated after being conference out." And he also says that he's benefited a great deal from one of the courses that I conduct, that is Discover and Develop Yourself. So do make it a point to get on board Unacademy. It's an excellent platform for preparation of SSB as well as various other exams. So these are the success stories as far as the NDA or TES guys are concerned. And now let us look at Operation Safed Sagar. So what you see on the screen is a Mirage fighter, and which has proved to be the game changer, right? So this is the game changer um, as far as Operation Safed Sagar is concerned. So let me give you a brief background of Operation Safed Sagar, exactly what it was. So it was the operations undertaken by the Indian Air Force in support of the Indian Army. So what exactly happened was, right, we had the first large-scale deployment of air power in Jammu and Kashmir since 1971, and the infiltration had started in May 1991. Pakistani Army and Indian Army occupied normally certain posts at higher reaches, and normally it was a practice that they retreat during winters and reoccupy some of these posts in the spring season. However, in 1991, Pak returned much earlier and even occupied 132 Indian Army posts. In second week of May, our patrol was ambushed, revealing a much larger Pakistani plan. Thereafter, India mobilized nearly 2 lakh troops. However, the train was restricted. Um, train was such mountainous terrain which restricted large-scale deployment. The operations had to be confined to regiment or battalion level. Limited use of air power was envisaged within the line of control. No crossing over was to be done. Now, these were the very clear guidelines given by the government, that the Air Force shall not cross the line of control. Visibility and low clouds restricted the Indian Air Force operations between 8 in the morning till 11 in the morning. The Air Force mounted a lot of electronic intelligence, photo recognitions, and on May 21, an Air Force Canberra on recce was hit by a SAM ANZA surface to air missile ANZA. The plane landed safely at Srinagar. So let me just cross check. I don't see people here. So I do hope that we are able to reach out to all of you. So on 10th of May, the Indian Air Force began conducting initial reconnaissance sorties over um, the region. On May 12, when Air Force helicopter was fired upon near the most forward based Pakistani positions overlooking Kargil and landed uneventfully with a damaged rotor. The next day, the Air Force Jaguar fighters conducted tactical reconnaissance sorties in the Kargil area to gather prospective target information. And concurrently, the Canberra PR-57 and MiG-25 reconnaissance aircraft were pressed into service over Kargil, and electronic intelligence missions began to be flown regularly. On 25th of May, the government cleared limited offensive and defensive use of air power on the Indian side. On 26th of May, first air support missions by MiG-21, MiG-23, MiG-27, Jaguar, and Mi-17s uh, were launched. MiG-21 and MiG-27 had restricted capabilities due to lack of modern avionics. Air defense fighter cover by MiG-21 and MiG-29s was provided to all the missions. On May 27, we had Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa's MiG-27 flaming out, and it was hit by the Pak Army. Squadron Ahuja, who was escorting him, was shot by a Stinger missile. Now he is believed to be shot after bailing out. On 28th of May, a Mi-17 was shot down using man-portable air defense systems. That is the shoulder-fired missiles, you can say. So this forced a review of tactics. Mirages capable of operating at high altitudes and modern avionics were pressed into service. For 3 days, 250 kgs dumb bombs were pounded over Muntu Dhalu, Tiger Hill, Point 4388 in Dras sector. So these were the aircrafts that they were operating in that area. On from June onwards, snow started receding and exposing Pakistani positions. Yes, I can see Agyat. Agyat, good evening. How are you? So the LGBs, the laser guided bombs and lightning laser designated pods, LDPs as we call them, they were exploited through innovations and modifications. And it is to the credit of our technical officers and technicians for their innovative ways that this modification was possible in such a short time. राइट तो हम इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा विस्तार से एक बात करेंगे. आई हैव हैड an interview with Air Marshal Nambiar, air veteran, who in fact was very much instrumental in flying those missions by the Mirages during the Kargil conflict. So I have spoken to him and I'll try and bring that to you. So lightning LDPs, laser designated pods, were employed to locate enemy logistics camps. Tactics was to stay out of the man-pad envelope, that is the shoulder-fired missiles envelope. On June 16, primary supply depot at Bitalik sector was located, and the next day on June 17, depot was bombed with paralyzing results. On June 23rd, another supply depot was located at point 4388 Dras and destroyed the next day with many enemy casualties. Mirages repeatedly struck the heavily defended Tiger Hill, and on June 24, the first high-altitude laser-guided mission it was flown by then Wing Commander Nambiar and Squadron Leader Monish Yadav. On June 28th, the first ever night LGB mission was flown by Wing Commander Patnaik and Wing Commander Nambiar over Tiger Hill at 2:30 in the morning. As reported by Army, it achieved a direct hit and is said to have paved the way for capture of Tiger Hill. The laser-guided bombs were used very selectively after proper recce and laser-designated pods. MiG-21s and MiG-27s operated in direct support of Army, dropping 500 and 1000 kg bombs at select points of impact as requested by the Army. The resultant impact, it cut off the supply lines to the infiltrators. Now इससे हुआ क्या कि जितने भी उनके जो पॉइंट्स थे as far as on the Pakistani side, right? So their supply lines were cut off, and once the supply lines are cut off, तो आप फिर ज़्यादा दिन तक लड़ाई को जारी नहीं रख सकते हो. The resultant okay, Mirage 2000 is known to be the aircraft that turned the tide in favor of India. So as you can see here, to deliver a 500 kg bomb by MiG-23 and MiG-27 and some rockets on the target, there was a package of about 8 to 10 aircraft, right? So अगर हम केवल 2 जहाज जो हम भेज रहे थे उनके साथ में एस्कॉर्ट करने के लिए दूसरे जहाज भी शामिल थे, जो कि 8 से 10 का एक पैकेज बनता है. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा और सुना होगा कि बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक में भी हमने इसी तरह का कुछ किया था, राइट? कभी भी एयरफोर्स का अगर कोई स्ट्राइक पैकेज आता है तो उसमें केवल बॉम्बिंग एयरक्राफ्ट नहीं होते हैं. देयर आर एयरक्राफ्ट विच आर एस्कॉर्टिंग दोस. देयर आर एयरक्राफ्ट जो कि उनको इलेक्ट्रॉनिक जैमिंग जो है वो प्रोवाइड कराते हैं. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अदर थिंग्स आल्सो, अदर एयरक्राफ्ट. सो एक बड़ा पैकेज बन के जाता है. सो MiG-21 provided AD escorts, MiG-29 additional cover and a CAP, combat area patrol, over the area by MiG-29 and Mirages, right? So ये सारी जो तैनाती थी वो हमने करी हुई थी उस टाइम पे. A photo recce aircraft MiG-21 would follow to film the impact, right? तो जो हम जैसे वहाँ पे when we were dropping the bombs, it was also filmed live by an aircraft. Of the 4 strike aircraft, 2 were to drop 4 bombs of 500 kgs, while the other 2 were to strap the target with rockets and their guns. Now this information has been given by Group Captain Alok Chauhan of 17th Squad. The early damage. Yes, पहले तो मैं अज्ञात से बात करता हूँ. अज्ञात, आप कौन से एसएसबी के लिए जा रहे हो? During a recce sortie, Wing Commander Alak Raja, his Canberra was hit by a Stinger missile and lost power in one of its engines. The brave Wing Commander nursed his aircraft back to Srinagar without any instruments to carry out a safe landing. Wing Commander Alak Raja made history by piloting the first Air Force aircraft to have returned home missile से hit होने के बाद. Now there were a lot of adaptations and innovations which were done during this time. Now, yes, good evening Ankita. So हम बात कर रहे हैं ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर की. अंकिता, कौन से एसएसबी के लिए जा रहे हो आप? So during this time, while the war was on, there were a lot of modifications which were done. So because of their very rudimentary bomb sights, the inaccuracy of their unguided weapons, and the ruling against crossing of the line of control, the MiG-21, MiG-23 and MiG-27 pilots typically achieved only limited success, right, when attempting to provide close air support against enemy point targets. Okay, SSB tech entry. Okay. So rapidly adapting to these constraints, the Air Force decided to take action to help correct the problem of inaccuracy. Mirage 2000 fighters capable of delivering laser-guided bombs to ground attack operations in the Kargil sector were committed. The fighters first had to be configured to deliver the bombs. इसकी कहानी मैं अभी आपको एक दूसरे इंटरव्यू में सुनाता हूँ. Accelerated efforts for the same, incorporating AST, TAC-D and base expertise at Air Force Station Gwalior was made. India's Aircraft System Testing Establishment AST in Bangalore was well along in a developmental program to integrate Israeli-made Lightning electro-optical targeting pods. Right. At the same time, the AST also helped to modify the Mirage 2000 centerline weapon stations to carry 1,000-pound US-made paveway laser-guided bombs. The TAC-D took the lead in developing and validating best tactics, techniques, and procedures for delivering the paveway. By June 12, the upgraded Mirage were ready to commence precision strike operations for the first time in the Air Force history. Now, जो आप भी तस्वीर देख रहे हैं, Air Marshal R. Nambiar, right? So he retired as Air Officer Commanding in Chief, Western Air Command, and he was one of the pilots. In fact, he was the lead pilot who dropped the first laser-guided bomb over Kargil during that Kargil conflict. अभी मैं आपको एक ये मेरा इंटरव्यू दिखा दूं. When we talk about the test pilot thing, you have had the distinction of being the first pilot who has dropped the first laser guided bomb, and that was during the Operation Safed Sagar or Kargil War. So understandably, the LGB hasn't come along as a natural fitment along with the Mirages. So was there some kind of a modification carried out, some test flying carried out before that?
The Mirage had its own LGB. This was a very highly capable and very powerful LGB, which was 1,000 kg weight.
I see.
It already came equipped with that. However, the laser designator pod, the original fit on the aircraft, which was a French equipment, was only capable of day operations.
I see.
Keeping in mind future combat, the Indian Air Force had decided to induct a day and night capable pod, which was manufactured in Israel. This contract had been signed way back in 1997. So when the war broke out in 1999, May, June, in that time period, this pod, the new Israeli pod, had not yet been inducted. Moreover, the French bombs were, as I explained before, expensive and very highly capable, and therefore designated specifically for targets in enemy territory, which were unique and very capable. Bridges, dams, and such like, which were strategic targets, so to speak.
Right.
Therefore, to use the expensive and highly capable bombs in Kargil was probably not called for. It would be like, striking a walnut with a sledgehammer, so to speak. So therefore, we decided to use lower capability laser guided bombs, which we had procured but had not yet been qualified. So when the war broke out, we did not have a day and night pod, and we did not have a bomb which had been tested.
I see.
Properly. I mean, this sort of procedures normally take about a year and is done under very controlled conditions in the laboratory. So we were now forced to induct these two capabilities rapidly because we required it in that sort of scenario in Kargil. Fortunately for us, at that point in time, our squadron, that is We were in 7th Squadron once again. I personally was not posted to 7th Squadron, I was out of it. And similarly, 2 other test pilots who were out of it were inducted into the war zone and in the squadron. And
Right.
therefore, we had a core team of 3 test pilots who were fully capable of exploiting the new configuration which had not yet been released to service for the other squadron pilots to employ. So that's where the challenge lay, and that's how we were sort of uniquely selected to drop the LGB and operate it in that at that point in time. So it's just that the capabilities existed in the aircraft, but had been modified significantly just about a few months before this whole battle started, and thus it came upon us and upon me specifically to drop the LGB, the first LGB, which was an American LGB called the Paveway 2, and we did it using the Israeli pod, which is called the Lightning, and it was done on the 24th of June, which is just round the corner, 22 years ago.
Yeah, so I think, and all of us know it, now there's history, that this particular thing, the drop of the first LGB, changed the course of the war.
That's not how we perceived it at that point in time when we were fighting the war.
Yes.
Historians and aviation experts today talk about changing the war and how it changed the war. But at that point in time, we were fighting in a conflict zone where we did not have to think about whether we would change the war or not. What we were very focused upon was making sure that the bomb went correctly to the right place and exploded. And to our elation and happiness and joy, when that happened, we were very satisfied and we felt thrilled that we achieved what exactly we set out to do.
And I think that helped greatly. It helped the army, probably the softening of the target did make a difference as far as
I don't think we softened the target, we actually blew it off.
Okay.
We had a bunch of about 10 enemy Arctic tents perched right on the tip of Tiger Hill. And Tiger Hill, as you are aware, was a point from which the intruders who were sitting on top had a direct view of National Highway 1A, which ran from Srinagar to Leh. And because of the ability to see what was happening on that road, they could direct enemy artillery fire from across the border, across the LOC that is, at our vehicles which were moving on that road. And thus they had effectively closed that road from operations by day. So hitting them resulted in the entire ability to see the road collapse. I mean, they were no longer in position now to see the road properly. And therefore, our flow of material and manpower to Leh and to the other parts of the battlefield at that point in time continued unhampered.
So I think, yes, of course, like you said, at that point of time, perhaps it was not known that it's going to be so effective. But today, when we look back, yes, it definitely was a turning point as far as the Kargil conflict was concerned. Now, I also understand that you have been very closely associated with the development of the LCA or the LCA. Okay, so coming back to this, like I said, ये पहली बार आप मेरे साथ में इंटरव्यू देख रहे हैं एयर मार्शल नाम्बियर का, जो कि आफ्टर सम टाइम आई विल बी रिलीजिंग इट, एंड दैट इज अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इंटरव्यू जिसमें हम बात कर रहे हैं उनके how he joined the Air Force through NDA, thereafter got into the fighter squadrons. He's flown MiG-21, he's flown Mirages, then he opted for test flying. So as a test pilot, उनकी life कैसी रही है. Then he has also been involved very closely with the development of the light combat aircraft Tejas. Right. So ये पूरा interview जो है मैं आपको after some time this will be released. So coming back to the Tiger Hill. Right, July 4 को Tiger Hill फेल, राइट. टाइगर हिल जो है उनके कब्जे से दूर हो चुका था और वो परास्त हो चुके थे वहां पे. एंड द एयर फोर्स इन एब्सेंस ऑफ एनी चैलेंज फ्रॉम द पाकिस्तानी एयर फोर्स कंटिन्यूड द सर्च एंड डिस्ट्रॉय मिशंस over targets of opportunity. So क्या होता है कि एक अगर हम किसी एक टारगेट के लिए कुछ बॉम्ब लेके जाते हैं और उस पे जो बॉम्ब हमने गिरा दिए और उसके बाद में हमारे पास में थोड़ा सा अगर वो बॉम्ब एमिनिशन अगर बचता है और हमें कोई ऑपोजिशन नहीं मिलती है, सो देन इन द एनिमी एरिया वी कैन ड्रॉप दीज बॉम्ब्स ऑन थिंग्स कॉल्ड टारगेट्स ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी, जहां हमें दिखता है कि यहाँ पे एनिमी के बंकर्स हैं, यहाँ पे एनिमी की कोई पोजीशंस है, तो वहां पे इन बॉम्ब्स को ड्रॉप कर दिया जाता है. सो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंड कि Pakistani Air Force was nowhere in sight, so there was no challenge to the Indian Air Force aircrafts at that time. And targets of opportunity के ऊपर also bombs were dropped. On 10th of July, right? On July 10th, the war was virtually over and three Mirages completely destroyed um, 0.4388 in Ras sector in an accurate strike with 15 1000 kg bombs. The message from the army field formation or field headquarters was, you guys have done a wonderful job. Your Mirage boys, um, yeah, they've targeted the enemy um, battalion headquarters in Tiger Hill area with tremendous success. The five separatist Kashmiri officers were reported to be killed in that attack, and their command and control network, command and communication network broke down. As a result, our troops have literally walked over the entire Tiger Hill area. Now, this is uh, what was the story at that time. On July 11, the Director General Military Operations of India and Pakistan met at the behest of Pakistan to discuss modalities of Pak withdrawal. So तब तक वो इतने परास्त हो चुके थे, so they wanted a ceasefire. So all remaining intruders were withdrawn and operations were declared successful in achieving its primary objectives. Now इससे हमें काफी lessons सीखने को मिले, राइट? एक तो ये था कि हमें अपनी जो टैक्टिक्स है उसको रिव्यू करते रहना पड़ता है और एयरक्राफ्ट डिप्लॉयमेंट भी जो है उनको भी हमें चेंज करते रहना पड़ता है. जैसे कि हमने वहां पे देखा कि मिग 21, मिग 23, मिग 27, दे वर नॉट एबल टू डिलीवर विद एक्यूरेसी, राइट? और जैगुअर्स उसकी पावर उतनी नहीं थी कि वहां पे वो स्ट्राइक मिशन कर सके, बॉम्ब डाल सके, हेवी बॉम्ब्स. So ultimately, the use of Mirages were made, and fortunately, we had these test pilots, who had done these modifications, so they were available to fly those operational missions. There has been a need felt to upgrade the Air Force fleet, especially the attack helicopter in mountainous regions. That is why we have the um, Apache attack helicopters, right? And of course हमारे अपने जो लाइट कॉम्बैट हेलीकॉप्टर्स हैं उनको भी अब वहाँ के लिए तैयार किया जा रहा है. So Air Force coordinated very well with the Army despite inadequate intelligence. Intelligence has been a little on the slower side. So with this, the whole Kargil operations were favorably concluded, right, in our favor. Of course, काफी लोगों ने अपनी जान का बलिदान दिया इसमें, and salute to Kargil warriors, and we celebrate this Kargil Vijay Divas on 26th of July, right? With that, I have finished as far as the Air Force operations are concerned. Now मैं अभी आपसे कोई पूछना चाहता हूँ, अगर आपके पास कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप बता सकते हैं, right? Any question you wish to ask me. I must also tell you that we are going to have एक नया कोर्स में लेके आ रहा हूँ, मिशन SSB 2. So in this we are going to have a course जिसमें हम PPDT और पर्सनल इंटरव्यू, राइट? एक पर्सनल इंटरव्यू जो है हम उसके बारे में बहुत डिटेल में हम जानेंगे थ्रू दिस कोर्स, राइट? सो कोर्स ऑन PPDT and personal interview, this will be done by myself, right? Likewise, no, you will have a course on GT, right? Group tasks by Colonel Rihal. You will also have a course on psychological tests by Air Commodore Parnaik. And a course on current affairs, general knowledge, and personality development by Major General Yashmore, right? So ये शुरू हो रहा है 14th of July से. Right, so this is a very good course, and I don't think you should miss this course. Excellent course. Now you can ask me any questions, right? Any questions you have on anything, I'll be um, happy to answer that. Yes, Ankita, Govindraj, anybody. In PPT story will be relevant to the picture. Of course, it has to be very relevant, right? जो पिक्चर में दिखाया जा रहा है उसी के रिलेशन में आपको लिखना है, राइट? इट हैज टू बी रेलेवेंट टू द, आपकी जो स्टोरी है वो उससे रिलेट करनी चाहिए. अक्सर होता क्या है कि आप पिक्चर देखते हैं और पिक्चर में आपको कुछ लगता है कि ऐसा हमने कहीं देखा है ऐसी पिक्चर, और उसको आपने प्रैक्टिस करी हुई होती है. सो वो जो आप जो प्रैक्टिस करते हो उसको आप एक प्री कंसीव प्री मेडिटेटेड स्टोरी जो है आप उसको फिर दोबारा उसमें लिखना शुरू कर देते हो, राइट? सो यू हैव टू इंश्योर कि उसमें पिक्चर में जो भी दिखाया जा रहा है उसके पिक्चर के कुछ बैकग्राउंड ऐसे हो सकते हैं कि जिसकी आपको यू हैव टू बी केयरफुल कि अगर पीछे आंधी तूफान दिखाई दे रहा है तो आंधी तूफान की परिस्थिति में अगर कोई चल रहा है तो उसमें कुछ अर्जेंसी होनी चाहिए, तभी वो ऐसी परिस्थिति में जा रहा है. करंट इवेंट्स के ऊपर होना चाहिए. करंट इवेंट्स के ऊपर जरूरी नहीं है कि करंट इवेंट्स के ऊपर होना चाहिए, लेकिन करंट इवेंट से प्रभावित हो सकता है, उससे प्रभावित हो सकता है. आपको कुछ ऐसा दिखाई दे रहा है कि वहां पे कुछ लड़ाई चल रही है तो उसको आप अगर वो फिट बैठती है तो आप उसको यूक्रेन वाली लड़ाई भी बता सकते हो, राइट? सो इट कैन बी सो लॉन्ग एज यू कैन एसोसिएट, आप उसको किस तरह से रिलेट करते हो, दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. ठीक है, गोविंद राज, आप कौन से उसके लिए जा रहे हो? और आप लोग मेरे को बताएं कि विच इज द टॉपिक ऑन विच यू वांट मी टू टेक द नेक्स्ट यूट्यूब सेशन. एक यूट्यूब सेशन मैं लेने वाला हूं आपके एकेडमिक परफॉर्मेंस और गैप ईयर के बारे में, राइट? सो द नेक्स्ट यूट्यूब सेशन मोस्ट लाइकली विल बी ऑन दैट. ठीक है, सो दिस विल बी ऑन द नेक्स्ट फ्राइडे. You can give me suggestions for any special classes, right? Special classes, normally I am conducting ऑलमोस्ट एवरी वर्किंग डे, तो आप मेरे को वो भी बता सकते हो कि स्पेशल क्लासेस में आप क्या चाहते हो. राइट. सो दैट इज इट गाइज. सो आई होप जब आप इसको पूरा देखेंगे, शायद शुरू से कई लोगों ने देखा नहीं है, लेकिन आप इसको अगर जब पूरा देखोगे तो आपको पता लगेगा कि हाँ, ऑपरेशन सफेद सागर कितना इम्पोर्टेंट था कारगिल के संदर्भ में. राइट. एंड डू कनेक्ट विद अनअकैडमी में आप सब्सक्रिप्शन लेना चाहते हो, यू कैन यूज माई कोड captain@rajesh. और स्पेशल क्लासेस तो आपको फ्री स्पेशल क्लासेस मिलती रहती हैं, उसको आप जरूर यूज करो. ठीक है. फ्री स्पेशल क्लासेस, they are very useful. So many people have benefited from this, right? So thank you very much, and I'm sure you will benefit, and wish you all the best जो SSB के लिए जा रहे हैं.